of childhood, the hook. The story begins with a young boy, barely 4 years old, living in Bocheblo. In the middle of the night, his grandmother whispers a haunting truth into his ear. His little brother, Tibello, has passed away. This moment sticks in his head forever, marking the beginning of a life shaped by spiritual curiosity and unseen battles. As he grows, he moves between the strict traditions of the Engay Church and the Catholic devotions of his grandmother, learning of God, but never truly knowing Him. Shadows at the river, the rising action. The narrative shifts to the village of Namahadi and the notorious Namahadi River, whispered to be the home of a great river snake. A classmate named Jerry mysteriously drowns after a log he was rowing is pulled underwater. While the village mourns, a young Paul begins to realize he is connected to these events in ways he cannot yet comprehend. Soon after, during a visit to a strange new church, a prophetess points at the 8-year-old boy and declares, "This is the pastor of this church." The sickness and the initiation, the turning point. Paul's health begins to fail. A local doctor, unable to find a medical cause, delivers a shocking diagnosis. The sickness is spiritual. He is told he must go to his ancestors. Desperate for healing, his parents take him to a Zulu sangoma named Mabaso. It is revealed that Paul is being called to follow the path of his late uncle, a sangoma himself. At just 10 years old, Paul is initiated as a twasa, drinking an elixir of blood and herbs to seal his fate. The life of a young sangoma, the conflict, now a fully fledged sangoma named Vulindlela, the one who opens the way. Paul operates in the world of shrines, bones, and marine spirits. He is protected by a massive, invisible snake that watches over him at the river. Yet, despite his power and his role as a prophet in his father's church, he feels a void. He watches movies about the crucifixion of Jesus and wonders why he is trapped in a life that others seem to choose for themselves. The encounter at the shrine, the climax. Years later, struggling to find a job despite his qualifications, Paul consults a fellow Inyanga. As the bones are thrown, a startling message emerges. His ancestors can no longer see him because he is leaning too far toward Israel's side. In that moment, the spiritual wall begins to crumble. Paul realizes that the early God had marked him long before the late devil tried to claim him. Free at last, the resolution and call to action. In 2013, Paul accepts Jesus Christ as his personal Redeemer. The physical pains and spiritual attacks that plagued him for decades vanish instantly. He returns to his church, not as a sangoma, but as a blood-washed believer, leading his entire congregation to burn their ancestral charms and follow Christ. The story ends with a powerful message. We serve an early God who is always on time and a late devil who is always defeated. The deception of the middle ground, how traditional and mainline churches can sometimes harbor ancestral practices without realizing it. The early God concept. God's call on a person's life, the mark, precedes the enemy's attacks, spiritual warfare, real-world accounts of monitoring spirits, familiar spirits, and marine principalities.